Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, taking some questions as they show up. So just post in the comment section there if you have them. I want to start off today by saying happy Monday. It is a Monday. And do you have that Monday morning mindset? Are you beat up because it's Monday? Do you hate Mondays? We all don't necessarily like Mondays, but, when you're doing something you really like to do, Mondays aren't a bad deal. So sometimes you got to find it. Sometimes you got to work to get to that point as well. So have you already crushed Monday morning? Some of you guys are from across the pond have already been into Monday, and some of you guys on the East Coast or West Coast are just getting up, or maybe you've already been up for a little while and already crushed a hard workout. So, hey, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, go for it. That's what Mondays are for. Refocusing on the week, setting some goals, and getting after it. So, I am going to take some questions here if anybody has some. I don't see any comments on here yet, other than Thomas Jefferson says, have an amazing day. I appreciate that. That's cool. Yeah, Jeff and I are going to be doing some live podcasts just like I'm doing here. I'm using a new program called StreamYard where we can do a podcast live and actually take your questions live too. So just been testing it out for the last week, seeing how this works. But yeah, and I'm digging it. Even have a little banner going down below, checking it out. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. One thing that I wrote about today already, remember last week I was saying I needed some help writing an article. Well, today, actually, I wrote it. I wrote one on running when you can't run. And this can be a variety of things, from injuries to bad air quality, like over there on the West Coast with all the smoke. Things like that. So, for most of us, we can't run just because we've hurt ourselves some way. Maybe we sprained an ankle. Maybe it's a traumatic injury where we twisted and, need surgery. Maybe we broke a bone, those type of traumatic impact related injuries, contact sport stuff. But then again, there's overuse injuries too, that also creep into our lives when you run or when you do anything to a high level. You're always borderline overtraining, and there's some good ways to try to avoid that. One, you got to listen to your body and know when things aren't quite working right, and be on top of it. Add some flexibility, mobility sessions to your day. At the end of the day, ice, compression, I'd say those are probably number one and number two, especially when you're starting to feel some inflammation going on, in your knees or ankles or hips, things like that. But yeah, pool running, awesome idea. In fact, that was part of my recommendation. I recommended my first choice is biking, because for most injuries, unless it's a hamstring pull or something like that, or maybe a bad knee joint, where you actually can't bend it. Those are, biking is pretty much a good way to not only maintain your running condition, but actually get better. I remember I was in third phase. I got a knee injury that really sucked. Just bad tendonitis on both legs. I couldn't even bend it. I had a clutch in my truck, and I couldn't even push my clutch in. It was that bad. So I had to rehab it for about a month and then join the next class that came up in third phase. And during that month of rehab, I actually got faster in running, and I didn't run hardly any. And so that was a big indicator for me that the bike pyramid saved me. And the bike pyramid works like this. You get on a stationary bike, go for 1 minute, level 1, another minute, level 2, another minute, level 3, and just work your way up. And depending on how fast you want to get this thing done, if you want to go for 40 minutes, you go all the way up to level 20, come back down to level 1. That's a 39-minute workout. If you want to go up by 2 levels each minute, you can cut that time in half and get it done in 19 minutes. It's a good workout too. A little more intense as far as getting to the harder levels. And then you try to keep it between 70 and 90 RPMs in that range. And you'll see that those are very tough workouts, and they work 2 things, your lungs and your legs. And if you're going to try to maintain your running without running, you have to work your lungs and your legs just as hard as you did when you were running. So that means if you're trying to pass a timed run, but you can't run, you need to really focus on hard. Like say you're trying to do a 9-minute mile and a half, right? You need to do 9-minute, really hard workouts on the bike in order to work that same energy system and heart rate that you're going to have produced whenever you're running. And that's a great way to stay in shape or even get into better shape. By pushing yourself that way. So, and then, there's running, there's swimming. One thing I do recommend, if you ever sprain an ankle, don't even try to go swimming, because that is just, that will send you through the roof real quick when the ankle just wobbles there and tries, you've got an ankle sprain, a real ankle sprain, like it's purple and swollen and jacked up, thinking you might be able to swim. Well, you can't, because it just hurts. But you can maybe get on a bike. Something I used to do is ice my foot for 5 minutes and then get on a bike for 5 minutes and go back and forth during the initial trauma of that. And then, compression, ice, throughout the day and all that. That helps. But as far as cardio, it's kind of tough in those initial moments. You might have to find something else that doesn't quite hurt your ankle, or anything like a broken bone. Obviously, you might just have to go upper body for a while. But as you're making those transitions into healing, and you can start putting weight on it and resistance on it, you can start adding exercises like biking and rowing and elliptical and skating, trying to avoid the impact of running, but still working the heart and lungs and legs of running that you would. So that's what I wrote about today. It should be up on military.com tomorrow. Any of these articles that I talk about, you can find them in 2 places, stewsmithfitness.com and military.com. And they have a fitness section that I have been writing articles there forever. In fact, when you guys ask questions, I'm probably going to tell you to Google something, because I've already written about it. Don't be offended by that. It's just, I've been answering questions for years, and I get a lot of the same questions year after year, just different faces. So let's take some of these questions. Looks like there's some up here. Let's see. Ideal weight for buds and height at 5'9". You know what? I wrote an article called Ideal Weight for Buds. You can Google it, Stu Smith. I made a little chart there. And what I did is I took the Navy maximums that you could be at a certain weight, and it's real close to where I would recommend you being, but not fat, obviously. That would be a muscle mass maximum. So 5'9", I'd keep you somewhere in the 175, 185 range, I think. That'll allow you to have some mass in there. I think where people get screwed up is they go below 150. And it's almost, you're going to be fine on obstacle courses. You're going to be fine on running, probably even the PT stuff, but load bearing might really crush you when you're under a log in a boat if you don't have a little bit of mass or some load bearing activity experience. under you. But, the same holds true for the guys that are 220 or 230. They have a real hard time running, hard time doing pull-ups, rope climbs, obstacle courses. Their grip just gives out, with that heavy body, but they don't get crushed under logs and boats. So unique thing about buds is it will expose a weakness of yours definitely within first phase, but within the first week, you will definitely start realizing, I should have run more, or I should have lifted more, or should have done more calisthenics. We all have weaknesses going in. You just need to be mature enough to understand where your weaknesses are. Now, if you're 5'9", $160 with some powerlifting experience, for that weight group, I wouldn't worry about the strength issues. But it also depends. If you're 5'9", 150 with a cross country experience, I would worry about the load bearing activities. Okay, would you recommend summer seminar for high school students trying to go to USNA? Yes, you can actually work out with me on Tuesday mornings, because I've been doing Tuesday morning workouts at summer seminar for the Naval Academy for over 20 years, and it's a fun workout. Some of those pictures that you may see of me, on a big field with 800 people doing PT, it's a fun workout. I tell you what, you get pumped up when you got 800 people counting out push-ups with you. Yeah, everybody. It's a lot of fun. Soren, found your channel through a shout out. Oh yeah, Johnny Kim. I heard he did that. That was very nice of him to do that. I'd love to have him on my show as well. That'd be awesome. When doing sit-ups, my hip to thigh gets tight. Yes, cramps, I would call it. Yeah, you're probably just your hip and thigh muscles, hip flexors and thigh muscles probably just aren't in shape to do a lot of sit-ups yet. That will come. I would mix in other activities, sit-ups, flutter kicks, leg levers, hanging knee ups, just to work that muscle group a little bit better in just different ways than just sit-ups. And then also, anytime you're working the front side of your core, you're also going to want to work the back side of your core. So you need to be doing some hip hinges, some plank poses, bear crawls, all of those things are going to require you to balance out all that front side core activity with some back side core activity. You can Google up a lower back plan that I have. It's free, download as PDF file. Something called the PT Reset is also a good one to help balance out that. But, like I said, my advice would be to just get a wide variety of exercises. Probably the best hip to thigh workout there is putting on a pair of fins and going swimming. And you can swim flutter kicks, you can swim scissor kicks, you can lay on your back and just do back flutter kicks. We call it turtle backing. That's a good one too. That will definitely build up your hip flexors and it will help you do sit-ups a lot easier. What's the best way you can increase how long you hold your breath underwater? You know what? I'll be honest with you, I don't really do that too much. What I teach is just standard breath holds, that anybody can do. But if you are efficient underwater, you won't be wasting a lot of energy when you're doing 50-meter underwater swims. And you can relax underwater. So that's the big thing, is relaxing while you are holding your breath. That takes a little bit of time and practice doing. But if you can be efficient while moving underwater and relax when you're underwater holding your breath, you will use a lot less energy, requiring that urge to breathe. So you can actually stay down there longer because you're not wasting a lot of energy under there. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is practice breath holds. Plain and simple. But don't do it alone, and don't be in the water by yourself, for sure. You can breath hold on top of the water or on land all you want, I guess. Just sit down so you don't pass out and bump your head or something. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, people die every year practicing breath hold and underwater swims. So you have to be really careful with practicing that and never do it by yourself. Unfortunately, you Google underwater swimming death, you'll see a whole bunch of spec ops dreams that died that day as well. Okay, been enjoying morning bike and stretch to get moving in the morning. Yeah, I do the same thing. I tend to do a little warm up, stretch, non-impact cardio first, and then get after it right after. I work out first thing in the morning, so you definitely want to warm up. Let's see. Okay, similar question, but it's all right. We'll talk about it again. But if I have 180, shoot for 180 for 5'9" is ideal. What is someone who's 6'2"? I made a whole chart on that article, ideal weight for buds. I went all the way from 5 foot nothing to 6'4". So 6'2", I would say 210, maybe. I went through, which I think was pretty ideal for me. Probably could have been maybe 5 pounds lighter, might have made running a little bit easier. I don't know. But I went through at 6 feet, 195. And I was one of the bigger guys at Buds back then. Most people were 180-ish in that zone that made it through. But yeah, I'd say somewhere 210, 215. I can't remember exactly yet. I typically try to cap it at 225 for like a 6'4" guy, just because that gets really hard to manage that kind of weight going through Buds. There are people who do it, and they're events that they will struggle on, but just like the light guys will struggle on some events, males will be heavier guys will struggle on typically the opposite challenges. All right. Once again, if you ask me another height weight question, stop, because I've written an article on it and it's out there. Google ideal weight for Buds. All right. Ideal weight for SF, very similar, because you're going to have a lot of running, rucking, load bearing activities. Same deal. All right. Google ideal weight for Buds, Stu Smith. You'll see an article. And like I said, these are plus or minus 10 pounds. So don't get too caught up in it, because everybody's body's a little bit different. Some guys are just thicker, bigger boned, or whatever you want to call it. They may carry weight a little bit differently than others. I've seen guys 145 pounds make it through Buds. I've seen guys 220 plus make it through Buds. In fact, we had a guy 225 pounds doing 30 pull-ups going through Buds. So that was legit. He could do some pulls, right? Couldn't bench press his body weight, but he could do 30 pull-ups. He was a college rower, so they get pretty good at pulling. Okay. Do Budge graduates come out of the program with some injuries? Yeah, sometimes. Most of it you're just burned out a little bit. I remember actually having a conversation with a couple of classmates after we had finished, and like, I don't care if I ever work out again right now, right? You're just burnt. So you need some deload time, and within a month you're ready to roll again. Not that you couldn't do something immediately. It's just that you kind of lose some intensity immediately following those kind of schools, and you just take a little deload phase and you start building back up again, because you've broken yourself down a little bit, after those schools, and you're just burned out. Good question though. What advice would you give somebody who's working 10, 12 hours a day? I would say good job, because you know what? I'm about to write an article, and you just gave me a great idea on that, is that there's a difference between being in workout shape and working shape. I think a lot of people who show up to buds with the best PST scores and, you know, can crush workouts, but then they don't make it through a day of training is just because, you know, they really didn't do anything else other than work out a few times with a nap in between, eating perfectly and all that. So if you're doing a manual labor job and you're mixing in workouts, man, I love it. I think you have a great chance of getting through. I tell you, some of the best guys who ever make it through there are guys that are doing construction, farming work, you know, and working out, you know, afterwards or before a day gets started. I think it's great. It's hard. Now you got to really focus on your sleep at night and your nutrition, and even more importantly, probably your hydration and electrolytes going in. But I think that you know, a good manual labor job is almost critical to really getting through any of these programs. It just helps. Like I said, you can be in workout shape or you can be in workout shape and work shape. I tell people all the time, there's no 30-minute gym workout that's going to prepare you for a day of spec ops training, right? There's other things in life that prepare you for that. Like when I was a kid, you know, during the summers, it was either landscaping during the summer, or I worked in a watermelon field and we loaded up semi trucks full of watermelons all day. And that was some good work. And then after work, we'd go to the high school and get ready for football season and do sprints and lift and do all that stuff. I mean, we were getting after it back then. It was good times. You know, I think it prepared me a lot for the journey that I chose. 100%. So my advice would be to you know, when you're burning the candle at both ends, is you have to go to check out all the recovery methods that you can do. And that means number 1 and number 2 is eating and sleeping. That's going to probably carry you 90% of the way for being fully recovered. If you can eat well, if you can sleep well. The other one is that missing 10% where we spend most of the money on, like foam rollers and massage tools and yoga classes and, you know, stretching and, you know, all these little things that we put a lot of time in for that missing 10%. Whereas if we just focus on our nutrition and our sleep, you could probably take care of 90% of it right there. So that is what I would do. But if it's a time management issue, yeah, you may have to break it up, you know, before the work, after the work, during lunch breaks. So yeah, good stuff, man. I like that. That's going to be a good article, I think, because I think our system has failed us. I think as a society, we have kind of lost the ability for everybody to get some work in. I mean, even PE classes in school. I mean, when I was in, you'd have an hour of PE every day. It didn't matter, you know, instead of a second math class or another science class or whatever, you know, not that I'm knocking those. You got to be good at those too. But I think we've neglected as a society, you know, the physical fitness side of education too much. And it shows, you know, more people out of shape, diabetes, dying of COVID, mainly because they have secondary issues from just being a very low priority of physical training. Going into Army Rangers, 32. Any advice for the older enlistee? Yeah, we actually did a article on the older student, you know, in that ballpark, you know, 30, 33, even 35. You have to actively pursue recovery. You know, even the younger guys need to, but what the problem with as you get into your 30s, you start your recovery ability just is slower. So instead of being able to recover in 24 hours, it might take you 36 hours. So you have 12 hours of the next day doing the same stuff that you're not fully recovered from. So it just kind of snowballs on you. So you have to really, once again, eat, sleep, and try to find other methods to help you with the standard aches and pains that come with Ranger school and Ranger training, and just regular Army life. And that may require, some days off, some stretching, some mobility work. I have this 1 day a week workout we call the mobility day. Fantastic workout. If you don't do it, you really should. Most of my latest workouts have that already programmed in, especially the 40 and over guys. It's a once a week mandatory event. But even my latest spring, summer, fall, winter lift cycle combo that I have has that day 4 mobility day. But really what it does is you go hard for days 1, 2, 3. You got this mobility day that's just a series of 5 minutes of non-impact cardio followed by 5 minutes of stretching and mobility work. Do that for an hour. And then the next days 5 and day 6, really you're able to hit it at a lot higher intensity level just because you've kind of recovered a little bit midweek. Makes day 5, day 6 even better. So, but yeah, you have to actively pursue recovery. But yeah, there's a podcast, Tactical Fitness Report, for the older student. I think older candidate maybe is called. If you go to stewsmithfitness.com and check out the podcast link, you can scroll down and see we've already done 180 podcasts of the Tactical Fitness Report. So, let's see. Let me get some more questions here. What's the volume, burpees, push-ups, sit-ups, etc., for an average Budge grinder PT? You know what? It's not that bad. There may be days where you go a little bit higher on some of the volume, but average-wise, I was surprised. It wasn't as much as I was doing before I got there. You might do anywhere from, 75 to 100 pull-ups in a workout. Sit-ups can vary. Sometimes they're in sets of 50 for maybe 4 or 5 rounds of that. Push-ups can do the same, a couple hundred. Burpees. We did 8-count bodybuilders back then. Burpees was not a thing. But they suck just as bad as burpees. We had the one instructor that had this fetish with the number 1,000. So some of our workouts and even non-scheduled workouts would be 1,000 of something. 1,000 jumping jacks, 4-count, not easy, quite boring. And calves were on fire for the next 3 days. Push-ups, did 1,000 push-ups, sit-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 flutter kicks. That was fun. That took about 45 minutes of just solid flutter kicks. But yeah, he 1,000 8-count bodybuilders. That was rough. Took a break every 250. Yeah. So I don't know if they still do that. I'm pretty sure they don't. I haven't heard about that, but there was just this one instructor back in early 90s that would crush us with 1,000 rep workouts. Good mind game. It made you go to your happy place for sure. But yeah, I would say the volume's not that bad. If you're doing any of my workouts, the volume on the grinder is plenty. You're going to be able to handle the grinder PTs. Yes, a lot of people ask the same questions every time. That's why I've written so many articles answering people's questions, because if I get these questions in an email, I can just send an article and say, hey, check this out. Thanks for the question. But anyway, a lot of times I tell people, look, seriously, just if you have a question, Google it, put my name in it in the search, and you'll probably see an article written on it. If I haven't, send it to me, because I will definitely probably write an answer on it, especially if it's a fairly common question that I haven't written an answer on yet. Let's see. Been trying to decrease my run time. If I only do LSD runs, I wouldn't do only LSD runs. What makes you think long, slow distance is going to make you faster at all? All it's doing is helping you get good at slow running. So I would limit your long, slow distances to a maximum of once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, and then spend the rest of your time focusing on goal pace running. So if you want a 6-minute mile, you need to run your quarters in 1:30, your halves in 3 minutes, and start doing sets of those so you can master that pace, muscle memory that pace, understand what that pace feels like. Otherwise, if you just do a bunch of 8 to 10-minute mile runs for an hour and a half, what's that going to get you? Might get you 10 miles. Who cares? When passing and failing a 4-mile timed run's going to be somewhere between the 7 and 8-minute mile zone. I prefer you getting into the 7-minute mile time, so you can do a 4-mile in 28 minutes, and you can do your 1.5 miles in 6 minutes, or 6-minute pace. So 9-minute 1.5 miles. You got to practice the pace. You don't practice the pace. And the same goes things for guys that just do sprinting. If you just do sprinting, that's too fast. You're going to start off too fast. You're going to burn out, and you're going to lose your pace. So you got to find the pace. So I recommend if you're going to do something, doing shorter, faster runs, throw some sprint intervals in there, some jog, sprint, throw some goal pace intervals in there, goal pace walk, hills, sand. All of those will be a lot better than just running 10Ks for super slow. So there you go. 6 weeks into 12 weeks to buds, 6'3", 195. That's good. Pretty solid. A little bit taller than I was at 195, but it's a good weight to go through buds. A little worried I'm missing a lot of load-bearing training. Well, you're only 6 weeks into a 12-week program. My suggestion is do the 12-week program as is, and then go into a more weight training program focus. But your numbers could be better still. You got a decent run or a decent swim, that could be faster. Push-ups, sit-ups, good. Pull-ups, okay. Could be closer to 20. I would just get better at the endurance and muscle stamina for another 6 weeks. Then, if you feel like you need it, go through the winter lift cycle and get some load-bearing activities. So it's kind of hard to supplement with all that volume. If you're going to do something, if you are going to supplement any of my high-rep calisthenic cardio workouts, you can add a weight cycle. You can see how I did it in the spring, because in the spring, we actually have a decent mix of weights and calisthenics as we progress throughout the spring into the summer. But the way you do it is whatever muscle groups you're working in calisthenics that day, those are the supplemental workouts that you're able to do in the evening. So if you're doing pull-ups and push-ups, you can do bench press, pull-downs, weighted pull-ups, rows, biceps, military press, things like that. Just the same push-pull movements, but just with more weight, less reps. So I wouldn't do that every day, but a few days a week is fine. Okay, what's your thoughts on David Goggins' mindset technique? That dude's tough as hell, man. That guy has figured out a way of coaching that is crazy, but hardcore. I think there's a fine line between mentally tough and stupid. And anytime you take yourself to where you're breaking all the time and you can't train, and you miss going to a set date for a test, or you miss your ship date for buds because you just overtrained yourself and now you're injured, I think that's stupid. There's a fine line between pushing yourself really hard and getting the mental toughness benefits out of that and breaking yourself. So, he's done a lot of both, done some really great things that I look at and say, damn, he is 10 times stronger than the average person mentally for sure. So I think he's doing a great job. He's motivating a lot of people to be better people. So that's what this life's all about. Iron sharpens iron. Okay. Just bought Navy SEAL Phase 1 because my pull-ups and push-ups are low. Do I need to eat a caloric surplus to increase muscle mass? That's how that works. Yes. If you're trying to gain weight, you're going to want to eat a little more, right? There's an old saying, if you want to be big, you have to eat big, right? Now, if you're not, yes, you need to balance it all out to not gain weight. But you just do that with all the extra cardio. My buddy Nick says hello. How you doing, Stoop? Let's see. Best transformation story of one of your trainees. That's a great one. You know what? I have one guy right now that is he's on the border of getting too old to serve in the Army and came in at 340 wanting to serve. Now he's a good athlete, so he carried it well, but 340 is a lot of weight, and he is down to 200 pounds and took a year and a half to do it. But he's a beast. He sets the standard now for all of us. I mean, he's killing it. The Army's going to get a great candidate with this guy. But yeah, I would say the best transformation stories are, for me, I mean, it's real easy to get a Spec Ops candidate who's stuck at 12 pull-ups and get them to 20 pull-ups. I think that's great. It's fun. Go from a 7-minute mile to a 6-minute mile. But the ones for me that mean the most is the guy that had to lose 100 pounds and get in shape in order to join any branch of service, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, police, fire, whatever it is, whatever method you want to serve, and did it. And, within 10 to 12 months, not only lost 100 pounds, but they also got in shape to meet the standard and exceed the standard. I can't tell you how many of those we've had, dozens. But those I would say mean the most to me, because that's just a sign of a lifestyle change for the better, for someone who probably has pretty much given up hope of ever serving. And then they say, screw it, I'm going to try to do this. And then we actually get it done. That means a lot to everybody, and the guys around them too. They realize what hard work looks like. So hope that answers that question. How do you determine if you're ready physically for buds? I'm extremely skinny, but I'm almost all the competitive scores. I'm at 5'7", 123. Woo! That's a small woman size. Yeah, you need to put on some weight. Man, you're going to freeze your ass off. 2, you're going to get crushed under a boat and a log. Don't be in a hurry. Just because you can meet the competitive scores doesn't mean anything. I mean, I was talking about this earlier. Workout shape is a lot different than work shape. Get your butt moving, get a job, work hard, build some work capacity and some durability. And, that may take a few years. And if you're young, if you're not even finished growing yet, take another couple of years and finish growing. That's why most 18-year-olders don't make it. They're still growing. Bones are soft and they just break. And mentally, they're just not ready. Personal thoughts on CrossFit. I don't have a problem with CrossFit. I don't do it, but I don't have a problem with it. Hey, whatever floats your boat. I think they've done more good than harm. I think, getting people to compete in fitness world is kind of fun. Gets a lot of people moving worldwide. Not the best form out there, but hey, for training for Spec Ops, you definitely need more than that. In fact, I wrote an article on CrossFit and special ops preparation. And that's where I came up with the saying, you need more than a 30-minute workout to prepare for a day of SEAL training. Where, that's where the guy that works full time, and does a workout in the evening on top of it, or the morning before work, that combination is going to get you much further than just a weight room workout. Because you got to add a lot of cardio into it and swimming. Let's see. A couple more questions. You guys are doing great with questions, by the way. Can a candidate realistically be prepared for a selection course with a workout schedule of only a couple hours a day? Yes, but it also depends on, like I just got through saying, what you're doing the rest of the day. Are you sitting on your ass doing nothing? Are you sleeping extra in the middle of the day? Because no nap time in Spec Ops training. So don't get too used to that. But yeah, most of my guys work out a couple hours a day and then maybe swim a little bit later just to practice some technique stuff. But yeah, a couple hours a day is fine. But I would recommend doing something else. Not working out, but working through the day, because the day is long at Bud's. It's not necessarily long because you're working out for 12 hours a day. It's long because you're on your feet and you're moving and you're taking care of boats and you're, setting up for the next evolution and, getting all your equipment ready. You just never stop moving. There's always a timeline and a stressor that's pushing you to, waste a lot of energy worrying about the next event. That's what makes Bud's hard. It's not necessarily the pull-up, push-ups, and the runs and the swims. You need to pass those, but the challenge of Bud's is just being able to work a full day and not break. And that goes for any Spec Ops training, any military training for that matter. Let's see. How physically fit should I be before going to Heroes of Tomorrow? Well, like I just said, we've had a 340-pound guy next to guys that are leaving for Bud's the next day. So we have a wide variety. Everything is fairly scalable to your abilities. In fact, the other day I had a new person that is trying to become a firefighter ask me what a rep was when I used the term, just try get as many reps as you can. Ask me what a rep was. So that level of physical fitness in their history is probably rather minimal if they have not heard of the term rep. So if you don't know, that's short for repetition. So I get all types. So don't worry. It's not all Spec Ops guys either. So everybody, I make Spec Ops level workouts for everybody, but it's scalable for what you're trying to do. Not all guys swim. Some guys ruck. Some guys can't run yet, so they're walking. So it all depends. You're fine with your current scores. However, I'm probably going to have to start capping my workouts here and not inviting new people, just because I'm getting way too big of crowds right now. I think we had 35, maybe 40 today. And, but that doesn't happen every day. So tomorrow may only be 20. So, all right. But yeah, check in with me and check our availability. How important is leg strength for Buds? Very. But it's a different thing. It's not like a 1 rep max leg strength, because no one cares if you can deadlift 600 pounds. And it's not needed. But you being able to squat and lunge with a 40-pound sandbag for a quarter mile would be a good skill to manage, because you will be doing chest carry lunges with a log that weighs about 250 pounds, roughly distributed between 6 people. You're going to be lunging that thing for quite a long time and doing squats with it on your shoulder. So what we did today was an actual log PT simulation workout. This is a fantastic workout. If you haven't Googled this or done this yet or seen it in any of my books, it's called the Sam Baby Murph. And I call it sandbag Sam Babies just because old story. So sandbag Murph, basically you're going to do 100 pull-ups, 100 push press, 200 push-ups, push presses with a sandbag of 50 pounds. Let's see, you do 50 lunges per leg, chest carry. You do 150 squats, shoulder carry. You do 150 sit-ups, chest carry with a sandbag. And then, those 6 exercises, you, after you've completed a max rep set of those and just keep track of your reps every set, you have to run a quarter mile. So the goal is, how few quarter miles can you run? That means basically how few cycles of this circuit can you do and get all the reps that I just listed. If you can do it in 5 rounds, that's really good. If you're doing less than 5, that's like rock star level. 4 is best I've ever seen on that one. But most people do it between 7, 8 rounds, and that's still a really good workout. A lot of volume, and it's like your own little log PT by yourself if you need to. But that's a good way to get the leg strength, the type of leg strength you do. We also do a run and leg PT. So run a quarter mile or a half mile, do squats and lunges, run hills, run sand. All of those matter for your leg strength, but it's more of a strength endurance than it is pure strength. Though it is helpful to do squats and deadlifts, nothing too crazy, maybe body weight and a half type reps. Weight for reps before you go in, just to be able to handle the load of boats and logs. The good thing about boats and logs is after Hell Week, you won't touch another boat and log. You'll still ruck, but that's much better than carrying around a boat and a log with you all the time. All right, so afraid this is going to have to be my last question. I'm getting a little burnt out and got stuff to do. How can my body get accustomed to running at the end of the PST? Got to practice. Got to practice running. What I would do is I would look up the PST Clinic. It's an article I wrote a while back, and it talks about how you do each event of the PST, how you break it up, but also how you transition from the PT to the run. It's very important to get all the blood from your upper body down to your legs before you run. And also have some sugar ready for you, because you need some blood sugar increases right there, because you've gone anaerobic quite a bit already, probably a little bonkish, starting to have some low blood sugar issues, and that can really mess up your last bit of kick on your 1.5 miles. So sorry I have to go, but if you do have questions, send them to me in the comments below when this posts, or send them by email, stu@stewsmith.com. Check out Stu Smith Fitness, and seriously, ask Google a question with my name in it, and I may have already written an article about it. So until next time, my friends, I will see you later.